let's ring the horn for Kendrick Lamar, his success for the Grammys, the halftime show. Hit that horn. But you see a lot of people talking about Kendrick. It's almost as if the halftime show has overshadowed his Grammys. But when I see Kendrick Lamar, a lot of people they got a perspective, of the beef with him and Drake, the halftime show, the 5 Grammys. But I don't know if anybody else can make this correlation. But to me, Kendrick Lamar is somewhat of the male aspect of what Lauren Hill was to the culture slash music industry in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. But of course, we know Lauren Hill done one album. Um, However, that one album, even by, you know, cultures outside of African American culture or black culture or hip hop culture, whatever. I believe it was Apple or Time or somebody. Y'all have to research yourself. They gave it the greatest album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, the greatest album of all time. Not the greatest hip hop album, but the greatest album of all time. And that's a hell of an honor, to have just not just in hip hop alone, but in music, period, and to beat out the likes of people as Michael Jackson, the Beatles, the Prince, so on and so forth. And a lot of you probably wondering, well, where is he going with this? Where is he going with this? And I thought, you're giving us a Kendrick Lamar aspect, but my Kendrick Lamar aspect and what I see, what he's doing, and his influence on pop culture, period, especially by way of the hip hop genre, is immaculate. And like I said, it reminds me of the Lauryn Hill aspect, him being conscious, him being pro, um, you know, for his people, pro the struggle, pro West Side, throw it up content one time. You know what I mean? We can give a Lauryn Hill was conscious, and the relation I want to make is Lauryn Hill swept the Grammys as if Kendrick Lamar did with his Grammys, um, and he beat out people like Beyonce and Bruno Mars and Taylor Swift. I mean, this one hell of a feat, guys. We got to say it. It is. But I I want to know is the industry are now going to peg Kendrick Lamar as the next giant or titan that they want to bring down. Now, I don't think they can bring him down in a sense in which a lot of other artists did. Um, since the time of Lauryn Hill and the height of her career, the world has changed. I'm not going to pretty much say whether for better or for worse because some people would beg to differ. I know I'm an 80s baby, a very early 80s baby. So the 90s was a very golden era for me. And I may be biased. Of course, the finances of how things is ran and the control of how much artists have in these days have changed. But nonetheless, Lauryn Hill was one that won 5 Grammys. Like as I said prior to Miseducation, Lauryn Hill have not long just been anointed the greatest album of all time, barring no music genre. Of course, that is to the liking of whoever did that poll or what, however they came up with that assumption or that assertion rather. I believe it was Apple or whoever. I just look it up. I'm not sure, but I know it is a thing. It's a thing. So please look into that. And I think Kendrick Lamar new album, not to mention the one he had prior to Pimp a Butterfly, from not to be exact. Y'all guys bear with me. Um, this is kind of like quote unquote not necessarily my era of hip hop. Um, but I do keep up with the culture as best I can. Um, he's had a few albums that people like to anoint as some real serious pieces, and I believe this one that won 5 Grammys when it's said and done will be one that is amongst the Mount Rushmores, have you, of music, or and especially hip hop. Um, but I just want to know, man. We in America per se, we are so prone to seeing, especially in the entertainment business, people get so built up and become such of a giant of a figure that it seems as if the industry has only one way to go after that person has made it so far up, and that is to sort of like try to pull them back down. And like I said, I don't think that would be as easy done as it is said. And I'm not saying that they brought Lauren Hill down, um, you know, in a sense of like just blatantly. But I think once they seen how she resonated consciousness to such a large following, like can you imagine if social media was out now? I mean, excuse me, if social media was out when Lauren Hill was at the height of her career. I mean, you're talking about an artist who still to this day still reach the masses with the likeness of her music, and has crossed over to different generations, and still considered a titan, and still does, I think, shows and tours when she wants, and things of that nature. But nonetheless, Lauren Hill, through my following of her after her great success had come, chose to kind of fall back from the music industry. And one of the songs I want to point out in particular is the "I'll Get Out" song, where she talks about in her lyrics, she's not going to, make music about bitches and hoes, and she's not going to, you know, alter her body with cosmetic surgery, and, you know, all these things to appease the liking of the corporate giants per se. And usually, from my understanding, when you get artists, particularly, and I believe it's all artists, but particularly artists of African descent or African Americans, when you get those type of artists who adorn such an influence on the youthful population, that influence soon has to be co-opted by the powers to be, because at the end of the day, they can't have you controlling the narrative. And I believe that Lauren Hill chose to fall back from the conventional form of producing music by way of the industry, due to the restraints and the demands they try to put on her. One of the things she say, like not wanting to, visualize her natural hair, and some of the things, not rapping about gold and jewelry and necklaces and just the material things and the material aspects altogether. And if you remember her approach to the industry and when she came in the industry, that is totally contrary to pretty much what her music stood for and the message she professed. And now, when you look at Kendrick Lamar, he reminds me of that in so many ways. He is a very conscious artist. He's very entwined with his people, his culture, even down to his representation of the West Coast and the gang culture, and not only just him representing the gang culture, but he represented in a way where it's not negative. It's almost as if you look at Bloods and Crips now. It's like you look at college fraternity or something. And I don't think that's bad. I think if you can take something that has had several different transformations, And I'm speaking of the gang culture, particularly in the West Coast, something that had started grassroots as a positive thing because of what minorities was going through in the communities with the police during the Black Panther era and things of that nature. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that those particular gangs in the West Coast, the Bloods and the Crips, or whichever one came first, I believe it was the Crips, spawned from the actual Panther movement, where the brothers in the community and the sisters in the community got tired of not really being served by the police, not being protected by the police. So they took it upon themselves. However, as in the Black Panther Party and several other, you know, black movements that was meant to liberate and uplift the people was co-opted. And I don't know who was the FBI agent during that era. I believe it was J. Edgar Hoover, but I don't know if J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI agent during the actual time where the Bloods and the Crips started. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure during the actual time when the Panthers started, um, J. Edgar Hoover was the um, FBI director. And one of the things he made very clear was that, especially at that time, and I believe it pretty much probably haven't changed in a lot of the minds of a lot of people or a lot of authorities by way of government, though a lot of has changed, but in these recent times with Donald Trump, we see some of those changes are even being co-opted and diminished. But that's another video. Um, yeah, they use something called Quo Intel Pro. Is where they will use people that look like us or like those who were in the process of pushing, the movement forward to infiltrate and ultimately to destroy the movement. Because as J. Edgar Hoover said at the time, the number one threat to America was the unification of the African American population. Why is that? I don't know. I have an idea, but like I said, that's another video. It seems to be, black excellence, black prosperity has always seemed to been a threat to some non-blacks for whatever reason. Like I said, I have my own opinions. You may have yours, but out of all of this, I want to get back to what the video is actually about. I see Kendrick Lamar as our modern day Lauren Hill. No funny stuff to say that he's a male, a very masculine male. I'm not. This is not to play on his gender in any way, but I just saying two strong black artists who was conscious, who was for the prosperity of all people, but and particularly black people, because through the history of America, our struggles and our road to prosperity seems to be that much harder than our white counterparts. And I'm just curious, where does not so much as the fans, I believe there will always be a base out there for his music. He's not a hate artist. He doesn't preach that in any way, but he is very conscious. He does make music that will enlighten those if they have the capacity to understand. And if not, I advise you to go and read. Break some things down. Um, and yeah, like there's a lot of perspectives out there on you know, Kendrick Lamar in his Super Bowl performance. So let's performance, man. Big job he done out there, man. Um, a lot of mixed reviews, but overall, I think as the guy who ultimately gave him the nod to do it, Jay Z, what he say? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. They say this was the most watched Super Bowl halftime in history. 133 plus, that's million, outdoing Michael Jackson and anyone prior to him. So yeah, man, I think this was a win for Kendrick, for hip hop, and for those who want to see the culture and the country move forward on a positive note. And I think with all the imbalance that minorities in particular are dealing with in this particular climate with the administration we have in executive office, it feels good to see someone of status, someone um, who has a platform as large as Kendrick, even without the Super Bowl, to shed light on, the things that us as Americans are going through in this current climate. So big up to Kendrick, man, and I just wanted to share that. I want to see where it goes from here. You know, I just had Lauren Hill vibes when I seen the brother with the 5 Grammys and everybody, is he's the biggest artist in the game right now. And then, will this be another story of co-opting this brother's success? Are they gonna come at him now with hey, here's this movie, put on this dress type of thing, you know, uh that type of thing, Or are they gonna continue to allow this brother to be great, uninterrupted, unabated? Are they going to continue to allow this brother to send a message that doesn't says he has the biggest gun and he's shooting this and that and and all those things that I have to use before I say it or during I say it, and just he's young relatively, and you want to see unabatedly like this could be our chance to see what Tupac would have been like had he wasn't unalive, or Biggie Smalls was like had he wasn't unalive. And I say that more to lean towards the Tupac, not to discredit Biggie, but I think we all know that Tupac was ultimately a West Coast artist like Kendrick himself. I think he's one of Kendrick's favorites. I think Kendrick pulled a lot of his inspiration from Tupac. So let's say, this brother moves forward and he doesn't have the the XXX Tenacion effect or the Little Dirk effect, you know, and God continue to lay his hands on this brother, let this brother be great. I want to see this brother when he's 50, you know, and look back and see how his works uplifted a whole generation, maybe even a nation, you know. And when you look at Kendrick work and you look at his videos, he incorporate all people. He doesn't exclude anyone. He's like I said prior, he's not a messenger of hate, a messenger of racism. Though he may share light on those things and hope for those things to get better, he comes from a place of endearment. He comes from a place of love. But he doesn't do it in a form of docile or weakness, you know. So yeah, man. Um, I think this is the artist that we get a chance to see how the Lauren Hills and Tupacs of the world career had played out had they not had to, endure such mishaps. And ultimately Tupac with his life, Lauren with her having to make a decision to, for lack of terms, sell out. When you won 5 Grammys, being a positive, conscious, innovative artist, why switch up now? Sort of like with Dave Chappelle. When Dave Chappelle said they came and they wanted him to wear the dress. He said, why? They said, man, it'll be funny. He said, but I'm Dave Chappelle. I'm already funny. I don't need a dress to be funny. I made it this far without a dress being funny. Hell, I'm the comedian. I write the jokes. Why are you telling me what's funny? Then I have to do something as far as emasculate myself by putting a dress on. He denied. And I think that is another form, though it's not music. We see how it pans out. And now Dave Chappelle, who didn't, at least to my knowledge, at that time anyway, accept a slice of the devil's pie. And I think it just etched his name that much more in history on the right side of history. Being as someone that we can see as a titan, someone the youth can look up to, someone, you know, up and coming comedians can model themselves after. Same thing with Cat Williams. Cat Williams, I mean, as he said himself on shows like Club Shay Shay, he had to turn down the devil's pie. And turning down the devil's pie isn't always easy. So that's what I want you to keep in mind, Kendrick. Because history says they coming now. 5 Grammys, Super Bowl. Um, you just smashed their poster boy in Drake. You know, so are the major companies and corporations are going to continue to buy into the brand of Kendrick Lamar when it isn't necessarily the brand they chose not to continue to uplift without co-opting and making it more so a material capitalistic brand? I guess we'll have to wait to see. But at this moment, I salute you, young brother. You done your thing, bruh. And as a gentleman that's a little older than you, uh, I don't mind saying you inspire me. I'm not an artist, but to do other things and let me know that hey, we is out here with some soldiers with some hope that is on the right side of things, that's on positivity and that's pushing the culture forward in the right way and not willing to sell out for a dollar all the time. Just remember, and I think this is something that Kendrick and those alike of him and those surround him and his camp understand. And if they don't, at least he do. Money don't always equate to power, and power don't always equate to money, you know. But power gives you control. Don't abuse it, you know. And enough power will allow you to eventually one day, if not you, those who will come after you, to generate your own money and continue to control our own destiny and get it out of the hands of those who like to co-opt such movements and artists like Lauren Hill, like a Tupac, and now like Kendrick. Keep doing your thing, young brother. Salute.